Oh no, I think that made the video. Oh well. What's up, everyone? This is the Dissection Workshop. I want to thank you for being a patron. I want to thank you for investing in this craft, investing into your own film knowledge, into your own film passions. This is going to be a super exciting, complex dissection. This is what I say feature films for. Just the story structure, the character layering, the theme layering. There's so much more to uncover on these dissection workshops than we get with the half-hour shows on YouTube that are live to the public. So this is definitely worth it. I totally enjoy doing it, and Parasite is definitely one of my favorite films. The story itself caught me completely off guard. It kind of blended genres. It was unpredictable. You didn't know where it was going. You didn't know where it was going to land. And I thought it was brilliant. We are letting in another patron into the room. Hi, welcome. If you don't mind, you can put yourself on mute. Welcome. We are streaming live as well to YouTube. So I explained to Elle as well, welcome, that when I go into Keynote, I won't be able to visually see you, but I will be stopping in and out to ask you guys some questions. And if you have questions, of course, unmute yourself and come on in and let's have a chat. This time is definitely for you. I'm happy that you both are here. Other patrons will join on the rewatch on YouTube. You'll have this video for yours to keep. And let's get started. We're doing Parasite. All right, let's do this. I'm getting so much better at this, y'all. You see how fast I got? I'm getting so much better at this. Bada boom. All right, so I did want to start letting you guys know just a brief breakdown about Parasite. Oh, I can see you. That's super cool. Here we go. So Parasite was directed and written by Bong Joon-ho. It's a 4-time Oscar-winning film, Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Foreign Language Film. I was telling Elle earlier, I was completely blown away by the film. You couldn't tell where it was going to go. It was super predictable. But the layers of storytelling, of theme, of character is so complex, so deep, so intricate. And the visual layering on top of that makes the story so rich. And so we're going to take this hour to look at all of that. And the logline for the film is as goes: greed and class discrimination threaten the newly formed symbiotic relationship between the wealthy Park family and the destitute Kim clan. So we're going to be taking a look at two families, just like the logline said. The Kim family, these are our protagonists. These are our heroes. This is the family we're rooting for. This is the journey we're joining. They are broke, poor, ain't got it. And just like the rest of us, a majority of America, a majority of the world, they're dreaming of financial freedom. They want to invest into capitalism. Hopefully it works for them. Hopefully they can be rich and wealthy one day, like we will see with the Park family, who is the wealthy family. And we'll see the similarities between these two, and we'll see how capitalism plays as a theme between the two families, how it helps them and how it hurts them. And here we go. So you guys absolutely know I am such a stickler for my opening shot. I believe the opening shot is, if not the most important, it's definitely top 2, but it ain't 2. Opening shot is so important to set the tone, the theme, the meaning of your entire film. So let's start with story structure. Every feature film has 3 acts. So act 1, which takes up about the first 25, 30 minutes of the film, is just set up. Who are the characters? Who are we rooting for? Who are we joining and following? What is the world like? What community are we spending time in? What are the rules of the world? Or if it's sci-fi, do we have powers? If it's Star Wars, is it aliens versus humans? Is it, whatever it is, tell us how the world works. And so nothing funky happens outside of how that was set up from the first 25, 30 minutes. And that's pretty much it. We can look at this opening shot and already draw so many conclusions. How do y'all feel when y'all look at this? And you guys can go ahead and unmute yourselves. When you're looking at this shot, sitting in this cement place, what does it emotionally make you feel like?
I feel kind of like a subdued like feeling, like, okay, this is the beginning, and we're gonna set like some type of subdued, solemn like tone. Like when I see this and how like the ceilings is all dirty and grimy, I'm like, oh, this is bleak.
Yeah.
Bleak atmosphere for the film.
Absolutely. What does it make you feel, Elle?
I just felt sad. First, I didn't know anything about this movie, so I was like, this has subtitles to pay attention. So I had to rewind after it had started already. But
you were like, let me go back and read, child. Let me move my bang so I could see. Exactly. So so we're inside of this cold, clammy place, right? However, we're inside of somewhere looking out. So the window is representing vision. And this concrete, similar to what you were saying, it feels suffocating, it feels consolidating, this feels bleak, and we're the ones inside of it. So as the audience, we are already empathizing. We're made to feel like we want to get out. Like, look what's out there. Why are we trapped in here? You can also look at the positioning of this room. It's kind of below ground level. It's like sinking. So not only do we want to get out, but we want to elevate. We want to rise up. There's also 4 panels, which will let us know that there's going to be 4 points of view. And if you're broke, if you grew up broke, if you grew up poor, I grew up very poor, I know exactly what these hanging socks mean, right? Laundry day, and they're not even clean. But if you're broke, those socks are good as new, right? Like, we wash them, they're hanging out to dry. And this is already dividing, this class divide. Bong Joon-ho is brilliant at making all of these visual markers to display the class divide. If you're broke, you know exactly why those socks are hanging up. If you're rich, you're kind of like, why are those socks there? And that is how powerful this opening shot is. A word hasn't been said. We probably spent about 5-6 seconds on it, but it already displayed so much. Here's exactly why the window had 4 panes. We are here with the Kim family, broke, poor, down and out, destitute, looking out that window, wanting to elevate, wanting to get out. And this movie does something that a lot of films don't do. Usually when you watch a feature film, there's one character we're following. They have to go on this journey. They have to win something. They have to save themselves, and we're rooting for this one person. But in this movie, the Kim family moves as one unit, even though it's 4 characters. So through 4 points of view, they're all going to go on the same journey. And we meet them as one. That's the first shot, how we meet them. We meet them as one unit. And this sets the tone for their journey and their relationship. They're going to do it together, and they're going to do it together until the end. Nobody's going nowhere. The last part of this opening scene is when the Kim family is trying to rid their apartment of stink bugs. But if you take a look, they're being fumigated too. They're being sprayed down too. This is a visual layer to let you know that they are the lowest of the low, considered vermin, considered bugs. And if you look at the camera angle as well, we're the ones lording over them. They're below us. We're supposed to be elevated and judging them. They have to rise to our level. And you can see that just the way everything is positioned. So we're also, as usual, going to pay attention to color theory. The main colors of this film are blue and green. And through color, we know the emotional state of our characters. So the whole story, their whole journey is, we need to get rich. We need to get out of this financial poverty. This is going to be our journey. And it's the colors of the opposite of that window. They're looking up to the sky. Those are blue and green. This is going to represent freedom. It's going to represent dancing under the sun. It's going to represent the outside, out of that cemented basement. And they're expressing this gratitude while they're celebrating like the Wi-Fi on their phones. So during this activity, celebrating Wi-Fi, this is the world's information at your fingertips. They're celebrating the access to the outside world and outside of their current space. So Building all those layers together, we see we got to get out. And that is the journey of the Kim family. So the way we get out of Act One, the setup, the rules, the world rules, the characters, how we get them into a new part of their journey, something has to happen to kick their butt. Light a little fire under that butt, right? And this can be something as heavy as life or death in majority of feature films. It will be. This is a reason why the character has to change their world and go on a new journey. But it's something really heavy that they're depending on for survival or for the right to life. And working for the Park family for these guys is that right to life. It's their get out scheme. So we're going to meet the son, who's the first one to break out. His name is Ki-woo. He's offered a position to work for the wealthy Park family by an old friend. And here he is on his journey. He's the first one of the Kim family to break out. We see him surrounded by plants and greenery and that freedom ringing through the scene. But also take a look at all the cement surrounding him as well. He's living like in the imprisonment and in the jail of poverty, but he has a dream. He's looking right at it. He has a dream to get to that free space. So what we like to call when the character breaks out of what they usually know, breaks out of their normal routine world and into the new world, Act Two, it's called climbing up a tree. There's a symbolic way filmmakers describe the acts of a feature film, and it's Save the Cat. If you guys want to study screenwriting, a lot of people would suggest that book to you, Save the Cat. Act One is the cat's in the tree, or there's a cat. Act Two, when everything's going okay and everything's working with this new plan, that the cat is climbing up the tree. So everything is working in their favor, right? So second act, Ki-woo is going into that new world. He's climbing up the tree, and literally look at him elevating. He has to walk uphill to get out of his situation. There's going to be a lot of elevation themes in this breakdown. There's going to be a lot of linear lines, vertical lines to show you where the characters are in their emotional state and where they are in their journey. So he's stepping away from his usual world of poverty to role play as an English tutor for a wealthy family. He lies about his background, his education to get this position. And so I want to ask you guys, I guess our first question of the night, if we observe the amount of plants versus the amount of the cement, do you feel this journey feels more free, or do you feel this journey feels more trapped? If we're just looking at the visual of this shot.
I'm looking at the concrete ratio versus the greenery ratio, and it looks like there's still like I say is that is a good question. You know, it looks like it's, when you look at one way, it looks like there's more green, but then if you look at another way, it looks like, I guess it depends on your if you feel optimistic towards their journey, or if you feel more pessimistic. So when I'm looking at it, I'm feeling like I feel optimism. Like, I think their journey, when they, they're going to obviously plot as a family unit to scam their way in to the other, I can't remember the rich family's name, but and I feel like, when I look at it, like, this is optimistic. I'm looking at the green, like, okay, they can start to have a better life, a new life, but on the other end, someone who's pessimistic may be thinking like, oh, it's going to be a rough journey trying to move on up, and this supremacy is going to stop them from having anything. So I guess you can look at it both ways depending on how you look at your outlook on life.
Yeah, so I guess I'll take the question a bit further for you both. The theme of this film is capitalism, getting rich or being broke, or how 50 Cent said it, get rich or die trying. Considering that being the theme and the societal observation of this entire movie, does that make you feel different with what this shot is telling you? Does it make you feel aligned?
Very much like prison vibe, because of how like a quad is set up in a prison. So the guard sits in the middle and you look out on each wing. So it just looks like one wing of a prison, honestly. And then in line with capitalism, I guess you don't have, well, that makes me think of Little Fires Everywhere. You didn't have better choice. You didn't make better choices. You had better choices. So these are the only choices that he has. And he's trying to look at the greenery in those decisions.
Yeah. So is that freedom or is that a trap?
It's all like a rat race, basically.
Exactly. And I think you both hit it on the head. It's how you view it. Some people love to use capitalism. They want to get in that rat race. They want to win. They want to try to get rich. And some people are like, look, it's a broken system. I ain't getting no money. You're probably going to be broke next year. Let it die. Like, you know, it really does depend on how the film, and that's how you feel. And that's the thing about this film, is it's asking so many questions, and it's just making you join in on the conversation of how does capitalism play in our lives and in the world, and how will it play for these characters? And so brilliant, you guys. Yeah.
The son's perspective versus the dad's perspective, which you just described.
For the Kim family?
Mm-hmm.
You mean like later on?
No, like in general, I think
okay.
Like the son has a more optimistic approach to it, and the dad is more like a realist, I guess.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask about the rock that his friend gave him.
Yeah.
What do you think the significance of that is in the first scene?
The Rock. So were you able to watch Parasite too, or are you just joining in for? No. Sorry. What's your name? I don't have your name here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Christine.
Christine.
Yeah.
Hello, dear.
I'm just using I'm using my my work computer. Sorry.
No worries. Were you able to watch Parasite, or are you tuning into the dissection workshop?
I watched it multiple times. I had something I wanted to go back to when you were talking about the symbolism from the colors blue and green. I was thinking.
Give me one moment, because I want to answer her rock question, and I'm gonna come right back to you.
Go ahead.
No worries. The rock represents hope. If we want to jump to the end, it looked heavy when the college friend brought it over to Kiwoo and was like, this is the thing, it's good luck, it's gonna help you, right? And then when they had the flood, it started to float. It was empty, it was worthless, it was nothing. So it's the belief, it's a physical element to believe that this is it. Like this system could work for you. You could be the next get rich guy if you do this thing. But at the end, it was a pipe dream. It was worthless. Okay, Christine, what was your question?
I got something else to say now. Because you started talking about the rock. I also think I do agree that it represents hope, but I also think it also represents danger too. Because he grabbed it in hopes, I mean, he was going to be dangerous as well, but his intentions were to, I hate skipping, but bye. Okay, have a good evening. Sorry, I'm at work.
It's okay.
I don't know yet.
I think I'm going to. I was passing out stuff. Didn't get a lot done.
Yeah. I'm finished with everything. I'm good.
I just need to write down, I want to get ahead on my handouts and stuff, or my notes that I have the kids do. I want to get ahead on those.
Okay. All right.
I like your Elmo.
Thank you.
Did he get you? Did he get you? Mine's broken. I should email him and ask him.
Yeah. Bye. Sorry about that. But what I was saying, okay, but the rock, he was intending, when he saw it floating and he got it, his intention, I still am hopeful we can get out of this situation and not be exposed by intending to use it to harm somebody else, but it ended up flipping on him and he ended up being hurt by that object. So it went from that rock representing hope to danger for him. And then also,
go ahead.
I want to touch on I had a different perspective as far as what the blue and the green, what the family represented. I feel like the blue represent more of depression. They're sad about their situation that they're in, being super in extreme poverty. And the green represents to me that they're envious of how the elite living, and they want to they want to have that type of life. They aspire for that type of lifestyle. So that's just my thoughts on
no, that's absolutely great. And I'm glad you saw something different in that, because colors in film, like, they have like standard definition, right? But if you can anchor them and use them at the levels of emotional complexity between characters and what the story is asking of them, absolutely they can have double meaning, and you can definitely see and reveal more. And that, I think that's a great observation. That's a great observation. I'm gonna move into our next one. So Kiwoo finally arrives at the Park house. He arrives at the wealthy family's house, and just the structure of the house, I mean, it's almost another character, a silent character within itself. It's cool, it's geometrical, it's clean, spacious, luxurious. This is like clean, elite, modern mansion living. And this house is going to tell such a larger story about the plot and the characters. So I want to take a look at the juxtaposition of the lines where Kiwoo's already standing. And this is, I want to make sure I'm not missing anyone. Did I miss a chat? Oh, okay. This is showing the contrast between his poverty. You can see where he's heading from that cement hardened field, right? Looking like his basement. And he literally has to walk through a door to a new adventure. And right beyond the door, you can see these horizontal lines made up of softer texture, made out of wood. And it's peeking into this green garden. Literally the meeting point between the two families. And we can assume by this visual alone that there's going to be plenty of parallels between the two, but also some differences. And I'll show you guys where. This is literally him like entering the vision of his window. He's realized he's outside, right? He's in that the elemental freedom under the blue sky with the greenery, still solidifying that color theme right there. So I spoke about this as well on public videos, about when characters are hiding a truth. And this is when you can't quite see the front of their body, they're talking from a profile, the camera's right behind them. And the camera trick here is to hide Kiwoo's face, because he's not being honest about who he is in the Park family home. And in order to get this gig, he lied about his education, his background, he lied about his job qualifications, just to give him access to the space. And this plays into the theme of capitalism, that is there a right way, maybe that was a Freudian slip, is there a right way to win at this game? Does winning at capitalism take lying, greed, self-interest to profit from it the way we dream of? And you can see his tutor student, you can see her full face, because she's just naive, she don't know nothing, she likes this little boy, and she's just happy to be there. Let us meet the Park family mother. And this shot is super cool and super clean. We kind of reverse roles, even though Kiwoo is the poor one and this mother here is the wealthy one. We see that Kiwoo is fully immersed in his new world, and the green garden is sitting right behind him, versus Mrs. Park, who is surrounded by what looked like his basement, that bricked, cold, gray cement. And so looking at this shot alone, what do you guys assume about Mrs. Park?
Well, I assume that she's kind of bland. Yeah, it turned out, and I mean, I couldn't tell her at the moment, right then, that she was. But I mean, it was revealed later about her other personality trait, which is she's very easily manipulated, and gullible. But I do see, just looking at this, cold slab wall right here, that there's nothing really deep about her.
Gotcha.
But, and very high strung and gullible. So yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Elle?
I just thought it was interesting that she said that they hadn't changed the house at all since they bought it. So I guess I don't really know what that says about her, but I just feel like once I move into a new place, I kind of make it my own. whereas she just kind of went with the flow and filled the mold of whatever the place was. I don't know what this shot is giving.
Yeah, so right, but you're right. She doesn't have like emotional depth. She doesn't have any like particular drives about her. She's just kind of existing and floating through the space. And I kind of picked up on that too. Upon first watch, just felt like she was like emotionally in prison. Like, is her voice being heard? Is she like making any plans? Is she doing anything? And she just kind of goes with everyone else is leading her to. But the bonus here is that similar to Ki Woo, she also escaped poverty by marrying rich. The only reason why she has accessed this lifestyle is because she married Mr. Park. She is not born of wealth. She is of working class. She is of the lower economic scale. And this is why she sits amongst the cement. She was also in that basement, just like Ki Woo. And that was revealed throughout the movie in the language that this ain't really, well, it's her life now, but it wasn't always. She elevated to this life by marrying into it. So I thought that was a really cool visual layer. Without anything being said, it kind of told you literally her background. And we're doubling down here in that color scheme. She's aligned with the cement. He's fully happy in his new world. This one it looks simple, but this has so many layers to this. So as we stated, Mrs. Park doesn't really make any of her own plans. She's totally gullible, totally easily manipulated. She follows what everybody else wants to do. So after Ki Woo infiltrates his family, he wins his day. This is him in this moment staging a master plan, leading Mrs. Park to his plan to get the rest of his family in that house. So right here, we're looking at a really cool visual trick. When a character is elevated and we are made to look up at them, they're usually in power. They're the leader. They're the ones that are taking us somewhere, or we're supposed to feel submissive to them. But Ki Woo, the son, he's actually going back down to where he is and where his real money is, and he's beneath her. So even though he's physically beneath Mrs. Park because he is broke, he's actually in full control and full power and in full leadership because he's the one bringing her to his plan. So even though she's sitting higher than him, he's actually larger from the depth of field and she's really small. So she's sitting tall, but she's really small. And that just shows all of these power dynamics going on. Do you guys hear my rings going on my end? You hear my text message rings going?
No, I don't hear anything.
Okay, cool, thank you. Because my texts are like going crazy right now. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, so he's like the puppet master, and puppets. Yeah,
absolutely. So this is why even though he's beneath her, we're positioned to focus on him because he's making us follow his story. And I just thought that was like, that's like advanced there. That's just super cool. So he brings his sister, Ki Jong, to infiltrate the Park family as well. And she's also pretending. Her costume is this highly coveted and exclusive art therapist. And I'm looking at the fashion, I'm looking at the color scheme, the kind of dressed in black, playing the role of workers is kind of giving off like a uniform almost. But black, as we know, could represent mysteries and secrets. So this is a front that they're putting on. I want to look at where exactly they're standing, right? Since he's learned the world, he's been inside the house, he knows what's going on and what's being asked of him. He's got the rules of the new world down, which is why he's on the plant side, the wooden side, because he's got the knowledge, versus his sister Ki Jong, who's still aligned with the cement, because this is something that she needs to leave her world and enter into the Park world. This is another cool visual trick. If you guys have noticed, the Park family has never shared a single frame. We remember how we met the Kims in their basement. As soon as we met them, all four were together. They decided to do this thing together. They help each other. They lead each other on this journey. But the Park family, you will never see all four throughout the entire film in the same frame. And this just shows how disjointed they are, how emotionally disconnected they are. They don't quite know each other. They don't know what each other wants. They aren't relating to each other well. Do you guys think there's a relation between capitalism and how it's affecting the emotional states of both families?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Christine.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you wanted to go, because I know I talk too much. I mean, I really love this movie. Juice.
I did
I
too.
talked about it with somebody in depth about it, you know. But for me, I feel like, yeah, capitalism does play a toll on how emotionally connected you are to other people, because your focus is not so on people, but money. So money, they say money is the root of all evil. So it's just one of those things that will warp your perspectives and how you treat people.
Absolutely.
And
What about you, Elle?
how disconnected you end up being, because you end up being like a glum, you know. I mean, you know how warped he got in the Lord of the Rings series of books. He was just so obsessed with the ring. In this case would be with capitalism's money. He went from he actually transformed from an actual elf, you know, a nice little cute little creature.
I'll take your word for it, girl. I ain't never seen
you
a
know,
movie.
like gnarled, like gnarled, like
I'll take your word.
thing, you know. That's what it corrupts. Capitalism does corrupt. So I feel like, yeah, capitalism does play a part in making you turn into a total different person that's just focused on that and not on people, and you become a monster.
I think in general, like poor families are more closely knit, kind of enmeshed than rich families, like just from general observations. And I think a lot of that has to do with, like she said, you're focused on a different pursuit. Like a lot of poor families focus on strengthening their family unit because a lot of their wealth comes from social capital. So you don't mess with this person because that's such and such cousin and da da da, you know. So their social capital is connected to their familial unit versus
we don't like her, don't go shop there. It's very bad. It is very bad. Good job, you guys. I'm really enjoying you guys' insight. This is like super exciting. The film introduces a third color. We're introduced to the color gold, almost sun-like, almost shining, reigning royalty over this family. And this is just proving this is their lap of luxury. However, they have these really dark void in this house. Huge dark void, which it's going to play a role, and we'll definitely get to it. Bong Joon-ho, I want to make sure I'm not saying his name wrong. Bong Joon-ho is doing an incredible job again, playing with elevations and descents again, which is a heavy physical theme in Parasite. And if you guys notice, the Parks family basement looks very similar to the Kim's family basement. It's just clean and neat, but it's still this dungy, cemented, dark place. And here we are again with these similarities in the families. But the Parks, of course, themselves never go down to the basement. That's for the help. And we can see, we meet the help here. Her name is Moon Gwang, who is, she reigns over the basement. This is where she's from. This is her whole thing. She's familiar with it. She's comfortable in it. And this shows her economic class. This is where this level makes the most sense to her. She knows how to run this level. Versus Mrs. Park, who don't know how to cook, don't know how to clean. She has the most difficult time doing simple house tasks. She just don't got it. What else did I want to say? This is just another societal observation in the film that it makes about capitalism. The rich literally cannot thrive unless supported by the hard-working poor class. Literally, their level is resting on top of the basement. They need the basement in order for their house to have a foundation. Drag it, you know what I mean? look at their window. We're going back to that opening shot again. This is a visual similarity between the Kim family and the Park family, and that semi-submerged window view. We can see that cement-colored wall with that elevated window, like wanting to get out, right? And though the Parks are free, there's still this element of desire or a vision for a better life. And so we have here the Park's son, Dasong, who is the family prodigy. They're banking everything on his artistic future and his artistic success to make the family valuable. But right now, if we're looking at this shot, we can see he's submerged. He can't quite see that window yet. He's not eye to eye level with the vision yet. So he's being groomed to grow into that capitalism, to adopt the Park's view for his future and head off into those green pastures. He has no idea that that's what's already lined up for him. And the sister here, Ki Jong Kim, her head is right above that elevated level. Like she's finally just got a peek of like the good life. She finally just stepped a toe in it, and she's getting her taste at financial freedom. So even just this shot, they perfectly align where they want people to be so they know exactly what journey they're on. Let's meet the dad. Mr. Park comes home. He is so fine. I don't know if y'all caught that, but Mr. Park is so fine. And after much waiting, he comes on home. Mrs. Park is happy to see him. And again, we're looking at visual lines to draw the class divide between these three characters that we're looking at. So Mrs. Park is actually outside sharing a space with the family's driver. And they're divided from Mr. Park because, again, Mrs. Park is not really from here, right? She's working class just like the driver, but she got to marry into the elevated lifestyle. This isn't her native world. This is something that she's groomed herself into. And we have the driver here separated by the Park family by the depth of field, because even though he's invited to the house, he's not of the house. You can't stay here. You got to go home. Wherever you're from, go back to that. And we're repeating these themes here with the lines and the depths of field to see what that money is like, what that money is doing. So Mr. and Mrs. Park are never, ever in the same color. She often wears like these delicate materials, these pastels, because, you know, like Christine said earlier, she's soft, she's naive. While Mr. Park, he's that businessman. He's the capitalistic shark. He doesn't mince words. He tells the truth. He lets you know exactly what's on his mind. And we have this dark void right in between this couple. And he's matching, his fashion, his color is matching that void. So we can ask, is he the void? Is it because he's never home? Is it because he's chasing that money? He's never the emotional human presence that's needed in this house? You can start asking yourself questions just by the way the visuals are aligned, the way the colors are used, the way textures are used, what is causing this big emotional gap for the Park family. So we got to bring the dad on in. He's next up, the third part of this master plan. And we have the two dads finally meeting. Mr. Kim meets the wealthy Mr. Park while he is at work. And they're literally divided by a line and through a looking glass. So they're parallels, but on opposite sides of capitalism. So these two men, they obviously have similarities, right? The families have similarities, and we've seen that through previous visual elements. These are two husbands, two dads who just want to provide for their family. And they both have two children. They both have a son and a daughter, and they both seek financial freedom. They want that money. They want the freedom, the liberation. They have to play the game of capitalism. So I'm going to lean into the film's theme a bit more here as well. And this is just a societal observation. We usually praise and protect the rich and powerful because we're sold the idea that capitalism is beneficial and that the poor and working class have the hope to be rich someday. And we know it's very common or a very popular phrase that's going around now that anybody in working class is one job away, one paycheck away from being homeless. You have a much higher chance of being homeless than you have of being Diddy. And that's just the cold, hard truth. And that just points to the fact that capitalism in itself, in its entirety, is a trap, right? So we're back at home, we're poor, we're impoverished, but the green color is still seeping in. There's still a lot of green in the house. So they believe they're accessing their financial freedom by working for the Park family, but the gag might be the green was there the entire time. Were they free the entire time? And can we use this moment, can we use this color theory to question our traditional ideas of success? What is success? Is it in the heart and in the love? Is it the money? Is it the house on the hill? That's up to us to decide and pull from this movie and what it's critiquing. The Kim family, this poor family right here, they have a messy home. We can see all of their personal belongings, AKA they got everything they need. It sucks. We'd like to have a pool in the back. It sucks, but they may have everything that they need compared to the Park family, whose materials are all buried underground. You can't see their mess. You can't see their stuff. They got that big dark hole in the kitchen, right? It's like they're sweeping some dirt under the rug, or they're living with this black void in the house, even though their life looks really good. May not be that way. Again, here's a reason why it may not be that way. We're back to having this disjointed family. Mr. and Mrs. Park are 100% concerned on DeJong. They have a whole daughter. They don't listen to her. They don't care, but they are like ashamed of like her bad grades. They just gaslight her through this entire movie to only support DeSong, only him, right? They also label each other DeSong's mother, DeSong's father. They never refer to each other as my husband, my wife, my love, honey, baby, nothing. You are here to serve DeSong. And this is the closest we've gotten to see the entire family in a singular shot while in this house. You got Mr. and Mrs. Park. You got DeSong's artwork in the back. He's not physically present, but the conversation is once again about him. And you have the daughter outside of the frame, sitting on the opposite side of the table, complaining about not being cared about by her family. And this is just breaking them all apart, even though they look beautiful. All right, so mom is in the house. Plan is in full effect. Everything's going right. The cat is up the tree. This is where we want it to be. The view's great. I'm comfortable, found a nice branch, and this is a much better view compared to that first window we had. This is a much better view. All the members of the Kim family have fully integrated into the Park family home. The gag is this still may be an entrapment. And point blank period, that is capitalism. If you do good, if you do bad, we are in this rat race. You cannot escape the cage. That is it. And they must also always hold on to the fact that the life they covet is not theirs. They're here by a lie. They're still not rich. And sometimes when it comes to capitalism, we see these people keeping up with the Joneses. It's much more easier to pretend to have a good life than to actually have it. And that's how we all get brainwashed with capitalism, buying bottles, cars, Instagram flicks, getting them likes. But we got like $7 in that account. It's just, it looks good on the outside, but we got to front a little bit. And all the colors here meet the blues, the green, and the gold, because even as they chase after greener pastures, they may have been in the freedom under the sun the entire time. Now we meet a new character here. In every feature film, you have a midpoint. The midpoint is the exact center of the film, and where that good new plan comes to a head, it gets flipped by a curveball, and we got to do something else. This is the midpoint. The original housekeeper comes back, and we discover that her husband's been living in the sub level of that basement. This is what we call Act 2, Part 2, fall down the tree. So getting up is easy. Well, we're going to get our butt kicked a little bit because there was a curveball. The cat got to come back down the tree. So our hero's plan, the Kim family's plan, comes crumbling down due to an unexpected catastrophe. They're discovered as frauds. We figured you out. Here is the original housekeeper who was replaced by Mrs. Kim. She comes back for her husband who is trapped beneath the basement, 2 levels down in the Park household. There's a secret beyond the secret. There's a reasoning for that black void. And this is the most impoverished. This is the most poor of capitalism, homelessness. This man lost his business. He was trying to play by the rules. Capitalism still got him. And now he has nothing. He has to sneak and live in this house because he has nothing else. So While the Kim family has been chasing these blues and these greens this entire time, the Gook family, this is the housekeeper's family, the Gook family is always showered in gold. And their colors are completely reversed from the Kim family. See, the gold is behind them and the green is in front. We meet the Gooks, the gold is in front and the green is in the back. He got real complicated with this one now. So the Gook's face, having the sun on them with the green behind them, they don't desire the riches of wealth. They just want to be comfortable. They're safe and happy where they are. The sun is already on them. They know that. They want to work for the parks and they're cool right here. They don't want nothing else. And we meet people like that in capitalism. Like, look, I got what I got. It's working for me. I don't need to be Diddy. I'm just glad I ain't poor. This is safe. We're going to stop right here. But then Moon Gwang sets her husband free and he ascends into the freedom of the green lit cement stairwell in an animal-like fashion. Again, these are like those stink bugs in that opening scene. The vermin, the savages, the animalistic poor people running through that staircase to break free. And they'll take opportunities from each other. They imprison each other. They become enemies in their respect and their access to Mr. Park's lifestyle. We see it all day on Twitter. Poor people yelling at poor people for being poor. Well, if you don't budget and you don't do this and you don't do, this is exactly what's happening here. They are going to fight each other to protect Mr. Park. So the Kim family wins this time. They put the Gooks back downstairs. They tie him up. They imprison them. And Mr. Gook does something that he's super proud of every day. He praises and honors Mr. Park so much, has his catchphrase, respect, and he's excited to work for him and support and illuminate his life. He is giving his health, his safety, his dignity to Mr. Park just to light up the light of his life, right? Mr. Park, however, has no idea who Mr. Gook is. Has no idea how hard he's working, has no idea how much he's giving to keep him comfortable, or like who does you don't even know. You don't even know you're there. And this is really a direct language to capitalism. We are working so hard so all the profits go up and they have no idea who we are and don't care if we live or die. Woo! So even though Mr. Gook is a surprised and minimal character in Parasite, he plays an incredibly important role to the theme of capitalism, right? What do you guys say about Mr. Gook and what he does for the theme of capitalism for the film?
Oh, that's a good question. He kind of represents how a lot of people are, especially in this country. In their, I mean, he is comfortable with what little scraps he's getting there. It just reminds me of back in the 80s when I was a kid, like with Reagan and the trickle down economics. He's just basically like, okay, poor black people, just be thankful you're getting something. Take this government cheese and be happy with it. You know,
the cheese that don't melt.
Basically, I don't care about you, and I'm for me and my family and making sure we continue to secure our wealth and our elitism and all that stuff. So whatever you get that trickles down to you, that the little scraps, be happy with it. And a lot of people are like Mr. Gook. They're happy with what they can get, and they view people and they admire people who are super rich and super wealthy and super elite and super capitalist as gods and goddesses. And they aspire to that, but at the same token, they know that it's likely they won't ever get to that level. So they're happy just getting some type of little trickle of something from them, some type of scrap, some type of crumb from them. And they just basically brainwashed. And that's Mr. Gook. And you notice that I just wanted to talk about the other character, the father. What's the father's name? Kim? Is it Mr. Kim?
Mr. Kim, yeah. The poor one is Mr. Kim.
He was like that too. He was really starting to really admire Mr. Park so much. He wasn't realizing that Park didn't give a damn about him or anything about him. He thought he was, you know,
you're nothing. A stink bug, because he always like got that wasp and that bad smell.
Exactly. And it's like he was starting to realized that he was like, Mr. Goop, just, really just idolizing these people who could care less about you.
Honestly, it made me think of like Trump supporters.
Well, I want to take it there.
That part.
Like you're voting against your eyes because you're praising this ideal of who Trump is and who he's supposed to represent. So you are voting to keep yourself even more impoverished. Yeah, this is a creepy shot.
Yeah, yo, and you know me, Elle. You know I love this creepy horror stuff. This is my favorite shot of the movie. It is my absolute favorite shot of the movie. This is the dark secret of the Park household, aka capitalism's biggest secret, is that you, the working class, will sacrifice your freedom, your dignity, and more times than not, you will never achieve the rewards that capitalism offers. And as we can notice as well, Mr. Park is always aligned with the cement. He's the dream. He's the godlike figure, but he's always aligned with the cement as well. Because capitalism is a prison. Even if you're winning, it's still a prison. He's fully integrated with it, and he relies on it to be privileged. He relies on capitalism to have what he has. The Parks honor their son, Dissection, because he is their golden ticket out. Again, they're betting on his future as an artist to keep the generational wealth in his family going, unlike their daughter who's struggling with her homework. So because she's not aligned with their capitalistic dream, she's not going to keep the wheel going. She's invaluable. Mr. Goop is also the ghost that traumatized their son, Dissection. Dissection saw this vision one night when he went in the kitchen to get his birthday cake, and these are the eyes that poked out. So, and Mrs. Park said something so strange. She said, to see a ghost is a good sign of wealth. I believe it's the good sign of wealth. So you can ask yourselves, does it cost people's lives to bring wealth to others? She's praising a dead person. She's praising someone who died. Is this a symbol of America and global economy, which literally lay on the bones? America lays on the bones of Native people for colonizers to get their come up, to win at capitalism. I'm sure they're praising these ghosts down. And the wealthy elite, the 1%, literally need a Mr. Goop to exist. They rest on the shoulders of the delusional poor people who think they can one day access wealth. Like Elle said with those Trump supporters, they are delusional, and he needs those delusional people to believe and vote for him. And through a survival mindset, Mr. Kim binds his fellow poor person. Y'all should be on the same team. He binds his fellow poor person in order to elevate himself. Well, I'm taking this job. I need this house. I want the money. There's limited spots. So I gotta get you out the paint, right? And look at his face. He finds peace in that. Mr. Goop finds rest in that. He's living under the sun. I don't care. I just want my wife, and I just want my basement. Like, I'm cool. Like, he's totally fine with that. And so many impoverished people are just happy to serve the prison trap of capitalism. They give their labor and their existence, and their identity goes unnoticed by the wealthy who rely on it. Insane. So Bong Joon-ho continues to play with the physical themes of elevation and submersion as the Kims need to hide from the Park family returning unannounced. It's a surprise, hiding under the beds, hiding under the tables. We can look at our color themes returning on the cover of Ki-woo's phone, him dreaming of that freedom and that liberation. We can see the daughter, Ki-jong, trying to get her father out of that coffee table entrapment, looking through that looking glass yet again, looking through that vision of a window yet again. And while it's raining, the Kims are just having this little outdoor camping picnic and they're fine. But the Kims family, they're flooding, all of their belongings, their home, everything as they know it is being destroyed. They have to get down, go all the way back down the hill, back to that vermin little basement and save their stuff. And we know that phrase, when it rains, it pours, or that other phrase where they say, when America coughs, the world catches a cold. You know what I mean? Like that trickle down, what you were saying earlier, Christine, like whatever they have is going to hurt. If something hurts them just a little bit, it's an inconvenience for them, is going to be world crushing for everyone else beneath them. And the reality is, this is how the Kim family lives in the sun. We see this gold light raining on them. This is it. This is your liberation. You have to face the hard truth. This is what you're going to be. And for most, poverty will be the maximum of their freedom. Though poor people have different outcomes, it can happen. You can break out. But more times than not, this is the sun you under. You're gonna have to get comfortable, right? This is another favorite visual of mine. This is during Desong's birthday party. We have that Native American tent that he loves to play in. You know, he's resting on those bones. And the Park family invite their wealthy family and their wealthy friends. And even though Kiwoo is elevated, he's above the wealthy, he's watching through this window. This is still a vision that he wants. This is still something he can't access. This is still a dream of financial freedom. And he's watching them dance under the sun. This is where he wants to be, but he knows this is not his life and this may not be a line for him. And he asked the Park daughter if he belongs there. Like, the conscience is eating him up. He knows he's out of place. He knows his money ain't really long like that. And he'll never match their privilege. And his physical elevation is directly juxtaposed to his emotional state, where he's in the shadows, he's in the dark, and he's wearing that cement gray. He's the prisoner wanting to be outside. It's recess time. He ain't going outside. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Here's the climax. When everything in the original plan goes wrong, you have a climax where everything's a mess. You have your biggest last battle. And this is when Act 2 is finally wrapping up. And we're going to come to the solution of the rest of the movie. So right now we have to clean up the biggest mess ever. Kiwoo tries to escape capitalism, but the very environment, the very system that put him there, the very system that created him, and he's bound to it, knocks him back down, drags him back to that poverty. You ain't going nowhere. And the love of this pipe dream will literally kill them all. This is the exchange of the request of capitalism. Give me liberty or give me death. Literally the American slogan, kill me or else let me be free. The song will be invested into so capitalism can work in his favor. This is a birth. You have someone entering capitalism, a celebration for his aging into the system. And we have a death. Poor people will kill each other instead of eating the rich and breaking the system that keeps them in their cages. They'll attack each other. And this is a cycle of capitalism estimated in 2 shots. You said this earlier, Christine, Mr. Park is godlike. This is why we're looking up at him. We as the audience are in submission. He's just like Kiwoo's phone. He's sitting under the sun. He's in the freedom. He's under the blue sky. And we admire him almost. But Mr. Park is peering over Mr. Gook, who's been stabbed to death. He's dying, bleeding out. And he's a god to the impoverished, and he looks like a ghost of the Native Americans. These are 2 visuals in once. They're so smart. They are really so smart. He's a god and a ghost of the Native Americans who died at the chase of financial prosperity. So something's really oblivious here, and it's oblivious to Mr. Gook and Mr. Park at the same time. Both of them had no idea that it took Mr. Gook's life and death to preserve capitalism. Mr. Park don't even know who this guy is or how hard he's working. And Mr. Gook doesn't even know that his work is going unthanked. His work is going unnoticed, and he's only serving the rich and getting absolutely nothing in return. He thinks his work has purpose, but it doesn't. And I said this already. The sky looks similar to Kiwoo's wallpaper. So here goes Mr. Park. He's opting out. I'm tagging myself out of capitalism. I'm done. We're over. Mr. Park is no longer his idol. He kills that man dead, and capitalism cost him his family, his happiness, all for the pursuit of financial freedom. Totally not worth it. And here is our second to last shot before the film completes. We are in Act 3. Cat got to go on about his business. He fell up out the tree. He got to go a new way. So we're back into a new world. after that entire journey, right? We started off somewhere in Act 1. Act 2 brought us into a new world. Everything changed. It cost them everything. They had this big last fight. And now what are they left with? How do they move forward? This is the second to last shot where Kiwoo dreams of striking rich in order to purchase the former Park family home, where his father is residing in Mr. Gook's old spot. I ask you guys, what does it mean that Mr. Kim lives where Mr. Gook used to be? You up in my old spot.
Did you want to go ahead first?
I don't have too much insight.
Yes, you do.
Ellen is always, I'm here for a good time. Oh yeah, but you have such poignant ideas as well. She good. Yeah. Any thoughts or takes on why my Mr. Kim is in Mr. Gook's old spot?
I feel like it's just like a sense of irony. They did so much to keep the poor Gook family down there to hold on to their little taste of capitalism. I mean, it's unfortunate. It's like that crabs in a barrel mentality, because I can't remember the wife's name, the one that was a former maid, Miss Gook. I'm just gonna call her Miss Gook.
Moon Guang. Yeah, you can call her
Moon Guang. Yeah. I felt so bad for them because like they were actually willing to work with them. Like, can we just work together? I mean, can you just help us out, please? And it's like when the Kims got it, that's when they became trash to me. I mean, I was all for the plan they had against the Park family because I couldn't stand the Park family. I'm always for the underdog or whatever, because coming from that myself, and I can empathize. But when they got that taste of that, they chose to be just as corrupt. And they're like, I don't care about your situation. I'm about me. All of a sudden, that's when like, you guys are trash. They don't fell for the capitalism. Fell for the capitalism and everything. So, but you just think like, unfortunately, if it would have went the other way, they all could have worked together. Like, you rub my back, I rub yours. You scratch my butt. You scratch my back, I scratch yours, and everything, we could live in harmony. But that's the corruption of capitalism, like that greed. Like, I don't care. I just want for me. I don't care what happens to you. So that's just sad.
What were you saying, Elle?
I was just commenting on her, so they all could have been sneaking in and out the basement. I don't know. I thought it was creepy. But I felt like he did what he had to do in order to not go to jail. I thought, are we going to talk about how the boy was laughing? The son, whenever he woke up from his coma or whatever, he was laughing like at everything. Like,
did you want to say something about? I wasn't going to stop there because I wanted to pay attention to other parts of the movie, but we can have a conversation if you like.
No, I just thought that it was like a shock that his plan to escape, I guess the system didn't work. So he was kind of in shock and disbelief that he ended up right back where he started. That's what I felt about that. But
I feel like it's that moment. Christine said something earlier and I'm forgetting, so maybe my explanation will trigger the thought again. But like sometimes when you try to do something shady and it comes back on you and you like, okay. Like I was kind of getting like that vibe from it, but also like, I mean, literally his brain was like literally broken, but laughing in such misery is what a lot of us do, like, especially Black folk, we're like, really that cop got on that little shield, that's stupid. And it's like, he probably killed a few people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where it's so traumatic and it's so dark that it has to be laughter, or else that other choice is pretty scary. And also the game you tried to play, the shadiness you tried to do, that little shady game you tried to play really kicked you in your butt. It's humbling. It's that karma coming right back to kick you in your butt. I forgot what part we were speaking about when Christine kind of said something like, oh, this thing happens and it came back to you. I forgot what we were talking about, but I remember you saying that. But it's Mr. Kim taking the spot of Mr. Gook is again that hard reality of capitalism, that you if you take the train into work or you're walking through a city, you see homeless people, you're just kind of like, yeah, what made that guy do that? And you can't bank on you never getting there. You know what I mean? Like any faulty thing in capitalism can put the working class in a Mr. Goop spot real easy, because Mr. Goop was a business owner. But the country effed him over, capitalism effed him over, greedy CEOs and wealthy elites effed him over. So he had nothing by playing the rules that they told him to play. That could easily be any of us. And Mr. Park idolizing this, Mr. Kim, idolizing the same God like Mr. Park, the same Mr. Park that Mr. Goop did. Kim and Goop ended up in the same two level below ground basement. So really just a sharp observation on that. And that is the vicious cycle of capitalism. In this shot, Ki-woo is dreaming of buying this house so he can reunite with his mom and with his dad. And capitalism in this moment is playing both the villain and the hero. Capitalism is going to kick your butt, rob you, cost you your life, take your dignity, your identity, and everything. But it also is the answer. How do you fix this mess? You still have to engage in capitalism in the hopes that it can work for you this time. And that's the mind trick. That's the most insane part, is that capitalism is both the villain and the hero. And Ki-woo is relying on becoming the next Mr. Park in order to rescue his father from poverty. So to even try, he's still playing the game. After everything he's been through, everything he's seen, he is still playing the game. So at the end of Parasite, we can kind of come home and ask ourselves these following questions. Who will it cost in Ki-woo's journey to reach his financial freedom? How many other Mr. Gooks will it take to make Ki-woo's rich dreams come true? Who must work diligently and unidentified to support his plans? And this is also the motivation for a lot of foreign families, a lot of non-American families, that their children are often made to be the hope for financial liberation. Be a doctor, be a lawyer. Where are you going to school? How much money you make? I see a lot of that happening in non-American families. And we saw this with the way the Parks handled Daesung. And the movie was left with a cliffhanger. We don't know. This was just a dream of Ki-woo's. He's sitting in his bed hoping that this thing will work. And we'll just never have that answer. Many of us, as whether or not we would admit it, we are all Ki-woo's, knowing the dangers of capitalism, but still hoping that it works in our favor. And that is the dissection workshop for Parasite. I thank y'all so much for purchasing this tier, and even all the other patrons on the rewatch. I thank y'all so much as well. You guys have any final comments before we shut this thing on down?
I just want to say thanks, LaTasha, for hosting it for this movie. That's what really got me interested, because I mean, a lot of people analyze movies. I'm like, okay, but your analysis is really in depth and it's like really in tune with the way I think. I mean, I'm not saying we're completely kindred spirits as far as, thinking when we're looking at a movie or a TV show and analyzing, everything about it. But a lot of things that you bring up, I'm like, wow, I was thinking that too, So I really appreciate you hosting a dissection of this movie, because I really enjoyed it. I've seen it like a good 3 or 4 times. And I just needed somebody to talk to about it.
It's good. It's good. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here as well. I really, really, really appreciate your support, your energy, your presence. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I found it interesting. Your taste in movies is totally opposite of what mine would be.
Put Elle through hell. I've been making her watch this crazy stuff.
Better than the last one, though. I really like this. The last one, I felt like I had to pray.
Yes, the last one we watched and dissected Hereditary, and Elle was like, "What is going on here?"
Oh God, movie.
We did it. I'm going to end the stream on YouTube. I thank you guys for watching and send me any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you guys. You guys have a good evening. Be safe.
You as well.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.